once this airplane starts turning at speed.
It's a fabulous shape too. In fact, it reminds me of the SF-260 Marchetti, except it's a jet, the type of the Air Corps used up to about 8 or 9 years ago. You can just see it's in the Strike Master mode, not the jet training mode. It's got tip tanks on the wings. It's got what look like rocket pods. I presume they're dummies underneath the wing. And of course, the exhaust is not. It's got smoke coming out of it. Not to be confused with the problem. There is no problem with this aircraft. It's just fuel, diesel fuel injected in the back, and it's making a lovely trail through the sky here today. Great shape, great noise. This aircraft is going to fly very quickly around Bray because, well, it's able to do so. If you look under the wings, as I said before, you can see what look like two pods, probably rocket pods, I'm guessing.
This aircraft would, at some stage in part of its training, being used as a firing platform, I presume, for the pilots.
Yeah, it was a kind of a counterinsurgency aircraft, hence the word Strike Master. It's for light strike purposes, a bit like the Fulton Magister was used by the Air Corps many, many years ago.
But never in anger.
Never in anger.
The pilot flying it today is a British Airways pilot as well. Mark flies the Boeing 777 and the Boeing 787, which is in itself an interesting aircraft.
Indeed, the Dreamliner is quite new, and had a problem in Heathrow a couple of weeks ago because one caught fire there. So he's an interesting background to his flying career, I suppose. This is a busman's holiday for him, though, to come to Bray here today, Mark.
Short skip over from Wales. The aircraft is based in Wales. Now lights are on, and he's coming down low for a really noisy fly past.
Interestingly, when these were put into service, they were painted a stony colour on the top, a camouflage. Look at that for a manoeuvre. It looks like an enormous barrel roll. We're seeing the top and bottom. We can see it's painted a light grey overall, but I was just going to say it used to be painted a deserty colour on the top now, so towards the end of its life they just sprayed it in a shade of grey, and it's quite difficult to see, in fact, when it turns away. Grey on blue, blue on grey, it's quite difficult. If it weren't for the smoke, it would disappear more quickly, I suppose.
You promised us earlier on you were going to tell us about negative G.
Yeah.
This airplane can actually push 2.5 negative G in some of the manoeuvres we're seeing today.
That's quite a lot. If you saw when he pulled there to the top manoeuvre, he was pulling maybe 4 or 4.5, 5 G, depending on the speed. Negative G is where the nose goes down. You're on the outside of the manoeuvre, and the blood is then pumped or taken by gravity from your feet to your head. That's a very nasty place to be. You have to be superbly fit to survive that. They don't like doing it for long, and aircraft don't like suffering it.
Okay, but
now, just take a look there. The smoke has got thicker as far as I can tell. It's certainly sitting in the air for a long time. The flaps are down, so
you're getting a slow pass.
A slow pass. This is a great opportunity for photograph. Captain Mark Petrie has taken the aircraft back to a minimum flying speed, which he tells us is about 90-95 knots. Listen to the engine scream. That's incredibly noisy considering it's not an afterburner type of aircraft. It's a first generation Rolls-Royce Viper jet, so it's a turbojet, not a turbofan. But for such a small aircraft, it's making quite a racket.
It's definitely one to cover the little one's ears.
Yes. One other point, it's a two-seater aircraft. The pilots sit side by side, and they both have ejector seats, so there's a modicum of safety should there be a problem later on.
If one goes, they both have to go.
That's probably true, yeah. It's remarkably agile, isn't it, for such a low-altitude aircraft? It can also fly very high. That aircraft will reach 40,000 feet and more because of its pressurization.
Well, one of the things about this particular aircraft as well, bearing in mind that it was a combat aircraft or used for that, is that the controls are very manual. There's no complex systems in it, so it could actually take a lot of fire and still make it home.
Indeed, there are cables. This is the opposite of fly-by-wire. This is fly-by-cable. So Mark is working very hard now to pull the stick and the controls. He has to use his feet and the control column quite heavily. There are no hydraulics to help him. It's a physical control to pull the aircraft around the sky. That's about plus 4.5, 5 G at the top of that. You have to be very, very fit. Around she comes off the top of that loop. And a wide pull out at the end.
And as a treat on the Brave Air Display website by airdisplay.com, we put a video of Mark starting the engines of this aircraft on the ground, and you really get the idea of the amount of power that's in it. That's on the Brave Air Display website, worth having a look at later.
This aircraft type was highly successful. It was used by about 20 different air forces in different parts of the world, so it only went out of service about 12, 13 years ago. Very successful aircraft from the British Aircraft Corporation. Just look to your front now. Mark is going straight up. He'll be leaving us very soon. Nice shiny paint scheme, although it's grey, it's glinting in the sunshine here this afternoon, so it's nice to see it. It's getting hotter by the minute here. I'd say the temperature now reaching 25 degrees and the breeze still about 10 knots from the east.
And Mark is now coming for his final pass down the beach. Let's show him some genuine Irish hospitality as he heads back towards Wales after this flyby. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, it's nice to hear the noise from time to time, Michael, isn't it?